A lot of kids, that's just the way they spell. And it's a big, big issue. And another big issue, of course, is are we eating ourselves into an early death? Britain's obesity expert, he's the advisor to the UK government. Well, certainly he was until the Chancellor brought in the emergency budget. He may not have the budget anymore. He joins us on the line now, Dr. Ian Campbell. He's in Australia. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
I hope your position's safe. The UK government brought in an emergency budget. There's forecasts of cuts here and cuts there, sir.
I would imagine so. I've not heard what the budget is because I've been sort of flying here over the past 24 hours, but I'll see what it's got in store.
Well, I hope you have a good trip anyway, your time here. It's a big discussion. Certainly there are people eating lots of the wrong things, too much of the wrong things every day. That's why we're putting on weight, isn't it?
Too much of the wrong things, eating at the wrong times in the wrong context, people not eating at the dinner table anymore, eating while they're on the move or in the car. All these things have just led to a gradual increase in the number of calories that we consume that we don't need. So that's why the majority of us now have a weight problem.
Yeah, and of course, some people don't eat often enough, and their metabolism is slow and sluggish, so when they do eat, it's automatically turned into fat. I know, because I've been one of those people.
Well, people have come up with all sorts of reasons why they have a weight problem, and actually, in clinical experience, a low metabolism is very rarely the cause of a weight problem. Mm-hmm. Certainly, if you go without meals, your metabolism slows for a period of time. Mm-hmm. The more physically active you are, the higher your metabolism will be. But still, when it comes down to it, for most of us, it's because we eat more than we need.
Okay, and what are we? I mean, our food is so good in this country, as you would know. I mean, we're very proud of our fresh food, although too much of it's now being imported from other places. We've got plenty of food here, so why shouldn't we be able to eat it?
Well, if you eat food that's healthy, then, there's no reason why you can't feel satisfied and enjoy it. I mean, food is for enjoying. I would agree with that. The problem is we tend to eat a lot of processed food, a lot of ready-made food, and that often is high in fat and high in sugar and high in salt, and that's one reason why we talk about food being energy-dense, because it's packed full of calories. And so for most of us, what we need to do is make sure that there's plenty of fruit and veg in our diet, because that tends to be relatively low in calories. Avoid processed food, and when cooking food at home, just make sure you use as little fat as you can get away with.
Of course, you look at some of the countries, unlike the UK, unlike Australia. Australia is very culturally diverse, I guess so is the UK, but the Mediterranean diets, they load things up with lots of oils and so forth, but the things that they cook with obviously must agree with the people of the Mediterranean region. Well,
the Mediterranean diet's often talked about, but it may surprise your listeners to know that Malta, right in the middle of the Mediterranean, has got the highest level of childhood obesity in Europe. And that's because alongside their fruit and vegetable consumption comes takeaway burgers and all the rest of it, and pizzas. So, it's about getting everything in context. And certainly, right across Europe and Australasia, we are eating the wrong things at the wrong time. And it's only when we start to address these very fundamental problems that will start to make any difference to this problem.
I mean, it should be a no-brainer for people to know that too much of a quick thing, too much of a processed thing, is going to lead to trouble. And yet so many families now are doing just that.
Well, you can understand why, because it's relatively cheap. I mean, it is quite expensive to eat healthy all the time compared to the sort of cheaper processed foods that you can buy in supermarkets and takeaway food. One of the things we've got to do is make sure that healthy food becomes cheaper, that it becomes readily available, and that people know what to do with it. Healthy food should be tasty, should be appetizing, but also it should be affordable, and that's something that governments have to be involved in.
Now, Dr. Campbell, what makes a person obese? What makes them overweight? I mean, it's obvious some really look the part, but others sort of said to me, well, technically I'm overweight. I mean, I've been told I've got to lose 8 kilos to get my body mass index down to the ideal level for the ideal height. And I keep saying to people, I'm not overweight, I'm just 6 inches too short.
Quite. Well, body mass index is the sort of gold standard measure we use, but it's very difficult for people to work that out. And actually another simple way of doing it is waist circumference. And if, as a bloke, your waist is more than 100 centimetres, or in a lady more than 88 centimetres, then that's the same as being clinically obese, and then you've got to do something about it.
Well, I don't have that problem.
Pardon?
I don't have that problem anymore.
Oh, well, that's good.
I've had that problem, but I don't have that anymore.
Why is that?
Because I've worked on it.
Oh, good. And how did you do that?
By working on it. Exercise, lots of water, I mean, I've got to tell you, I don't know whether we could afford to drink the water that the prices they want to charge us, but lots of water and eating fresh fruit and veggies and watching the bad stuff.
And when it comes down to it, it's just about simple things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's healthy food in the right proportions, not overeating, trying not to snack in between. Of course, alcohol consumption is another big factor, making sure your alcohol intake is limited too, but at the same time, increasing your energy expenditure through any opportunity for physical activity.
Yeah, I never believe that you should go on a diet, at the beginning of the year or because you've turned a certain age or anything like that. You should just really do it at any time that it suits you, not some celebration point.
I would agree with that, but in my clinical experience, very often there's a trigger, like it's New Year or there's a wedding coming up or a holiday. But for other, particularly blokes, actually, it's because they've been told they've got high blood pressure and suddenly they think, okay, now's the time to do it. So it's good having that trigger, but of course you're absolutely right. Going on a diet for a short period of time is you're on a hiding to nothing. You've got to take up new habits that you're going to continue for a long time.
Can we just take a minute to talk about our kids, because our kids are getting bigger. It's very, very obvious. There seems to be a lot of legislative protection. Kids are not able to do some of the things they once did. Parents are worried about their kids walking to school because of some of the social ills, bad people around. It is difficult being a young person, a child, growing up in this sort of fast food, less exercise environment, isn't it?
It is. It's very difficult, and the numbers of obese children in the UK and here in Australia is increasing rapidly for all the reasons that you've just said. I think that there's an awful lot that parents can do to help by encouraging the children to have a healthier diet. I think there's a lot can be done at school, and I think there's an awful lot the government can do. I mean, one of the things we've done in the UK is we've stopped the advertising of unhealthy foods to children until 9 o'clock in the evening, and that we think will deter a lot of children from whining with their parents to give them some of the less healthy foods. And so some kind of legislative action like that can help, at the same time as parents recognise that they've also got a responsibility to limit what their children do in some context.
Yeah, and guide them and turn off the computer and the TV and make them kick a ball while the sun's out and all that sort of stuff, I think. Yeah,
and one thing we find, I mean, it's the oldest thing in the book, but you just say no, I want to spend more time on the Xbox. Actually, no, you can't. You have to switch it off. And often once, there's a bit of a rebellion at the beginning, but often children get used to that sort of concept. And it may sound harsh, because as parents we want to do everything to keep our children happy, but actually keeping them healthy is important as well.
Yeah, we spoke to somebody last week who spent for 6 months, told the children no technology, no television, no computer, and they howled for a couple of weeks, and then suddenly the kids started talking to each other and playing games with each other, reading books. They did these things. Extraordinary.
Yeah, well, a child reading a book expends more energy than a child for the same time watching TV, simply because they're more animated, they tend to fidget a lot more, and so all those old-fashioned simple things actually can sometimes be better for us.
All right, sounds good to me. Good to have you in Australia, and I hope the British government maintain your tenure, sir.
All right, thanks a lot.
Okay, Dr. Ian Campbell, he's the UK government's obesity expert. More energy actually spent reading a book than playing with a Game Boy and Xbox. That is food for thought, isn't it? It's 29 to 11.
Have you had a painting or a home repair job quoted at one price, just to see that number go up and up once work begins? G'day, Peter Fraser here from PJ Roofing and Painting. And one thing you can be sure of at PJ's is the price we quote is the price you'll pay. You see,